What's up, everybody? It's your boy Toxie Boyo, and I have been just as critical of the MCU in the last couple of years as everyone else has. Um, I think that the multiverse saga was extraordinarily unfocused, and it seems like it's going to continue to be that way until it's over with Avengers Secret Wars in 2 years. But hopefully we could just make it there, and it seems like there might be a light at the end of the tunnel. Recently, it was revealed that Kevin Feige was stretched a little thin over at Marvel Studios, having to greenlight just so many projects all at once, and didn't get to actively didn't get to actually provide feedback on most of them until they were almost ready to ship out. That feels like it lines up with what we've seen. This isn't a situation of me switching up now that I have context. I just want to talk about the pattern that we go through every time a new MCU movie comes out of, oh, the MCU is dead, oh, the MCU is back, oh, it's dead, oh, it's back, oh, it's dead, oh, it's back. Because if we're being entirely honest with each other, the MCU has been hit or miss since the beginning. You know, I think the two things that color our perspective of phases 1 through 3 is A, nostalgia, obviously, because I mean Iron Man 1 came out 17 years ago. And B, you could tell that they were headed towards something, because at the very end of the first Avengers movie, you hear about the Avengers. And then that Avengers movie comes pretty quickly. And at the end of that, you see Thanos. So it only takes 4 years for the audience to be able to piece together what our end game is, where we are headed. And it keeps you hanging on because every new thing that comes out, you want to know how it ties in. Post-Endgame, there hasn't been a thing that we were headed towards outside of Kang. But now that we're not doing Kang, we're doing Doom. The problem with switching to Doctor Doom is that Kang had, 3 appearances, 2 seasons worth of Loki and Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania to be set up. Doom has had nothing. And that's what really concerns me about that, is that we're jumping straight into he's the bad guy, which you could say, well, they did that with Ultron, but Doom's not like Ultron. Before we continue, though, I would love it if you'd hit that like button for me, and, I don't know, Thanos snap the like button. Well, no, that means it would go away. I don't know, we'll figure out how to make that analogy work. But if I'd like to posit a thought experiment. Let's go in order through phases 1, 2, and 3, and we'll see which ones are good, bad, or mid along the way. And then we'll do the same thing with phases 4 and 5. It's going to take a little while, but I think it's worth the experiment. Iron Man 1, good. Incredible Hulk, mid, based on the fact that it didn't make a lot of money, and it doesn't have a very good Rotten Tomato score. Iron Man 2, bad. Thor, mid. Even though I love it, but mid, because a lot of you guys think it's boring. You consider Thor to be a boring character in that movie. Captain America: The First Avenger, good. The Avengers, good. Even though there's been some change up since then, but overall it's still a well-beloved movie. Iron Man 3, I'm warming up to it, but bad. Thor: The Dark World, bad. Winter Soldier, good. Guardians of the Galaxy, good. Age of Ultron, mid. Ant-Man, somewhere between mid and good. We'll call it alright. Civil War, good. Doctor Strange, good. We're on a hot streak right now, right? Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, good. Spider-Man Homecoming, good. Thor Ragnarok, good. Based on general consensus. I'm trying to leave my own thoughts out of it. Black Panther, good. That's the best stretch, right? 2016 to 2018, because Infinity War, good. But then Ant-Man and the Wasp, bad. Captain Marvel, mid at best. Endgame, good. Far From Home, mid. A lot of you guys really hate that movie, and it was really popular when it first came out, but that opinion has changed. And that's phases 1 through 3. A lot of good, but not without its fair share of mid/bad, right? And then you look at phases 4 and 5. Let's only look at the movies for the sake of fairness, okay? Let's get started. Black Widow, bad. Shang-Chi, good. Eternals, bad. Spider-Man No Way Home, good, even though, again, there's been some change-up since then. Doctor Strange, mid, but it's got a really high score from the audience on Rotten Tomatoes, so maybe you guys think it's good. I don't know. To me, mid. Thor Love and Thunder, bad. Black Panther Wakanda Forever, good. Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, bad. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, good. The Marvels, not many people saw it, but the general consensus that I've heard is mid. Deadpool and Wolverine, good, by all accounts. Captain America Brave New World, mid. Thunderbolts, good. The ratio hasn't changed, right? You know, Thunderbolts is out, everybody's saying the MCU is back. You guys were saying it was dead when Captain America came out, sure. But you also said it was back when Deadpool and Wolverine came out. But then you said it was dead when the Marvels came out. But you said it was back when Guardians of the Galaxy 3 came out. Do you see the pattern? If it can die and come back that many times, maybe it never died to begin with. Maybe it was never gone to say that it's back. Maybe you're just starting to realize that the quality has never really been that consistent overall. Now, what I will say, for my money, what's been bringing the MCU down is the television shows. Pardon the interruption, it's your boy Toxic Boyo, and I wanted to take a brief moment to let you know about the Toxic Touch Productions Patreon. I'm not currently monetized on YouTube, but I still want to bring you the best content that I possibly can. I want to make those videos that you love, and I want them to be the best that they can be. But I need a little help. That's where you guys come in. If you want to support me directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/ToxicTouchProductions or click the link in the description or the pinned comment. For even just $5 a month, you can get your name included in the credits at the end of the video, gain access to exclusive channels on the Discord, and you get specialized merch at no extra cost. It only gets better as the tiers go higher. Go check it out. Thanks for listening and thanks for supporting my dreams. Now let's get back to the video. A lot of the audience has begun to feel like being an MCU fan involves just too much homework now. Because not only are you being asked to see 2, maybe 3, maybe even 4 movies in a year, you also have to watch these shows. 2021 was a stacked year with 4 movies and I believe 5 TV shows. 2022 had, I want to say, 4 TV shows and 3 movies. You know, even when it's a slow year for the movies, there's plenty of shows coming out. That both helps and harms the MCU overall. Because you look at things like Moon Knight, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, maybe it feels clear to you when you're watching that this was originally developed to be a movie, but was then dissected and manipulated into being 3 times as long so that it could fit into a limited series that they could put on Disney+. You have to look at the timing, right? Disney Plus launched in late 2019, right before COVID, and for 2020, there was no Marvel content made for Disney Plus. The Mandalorian was like the first big Disney Plus exclusive or original show, and it was a smash hit. It was the biggest that Star Wars had been, and most popular that it had been in a couple of months. But Marvel didn't have that, so Disney, Bob Iger, absolutely would have been leaning on Kevin Feige heavily to be like, hey, we need content for this platform. We've sunk a bunch of money into it. We need to start recouping that investment as soon as possible. Marvel's the second biggest brand that we have, or maybe the biggest brand that we have. We need you to get something cooking. So then, boom, WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, Hawkeye, all in 1 year. And it feels like if you're not spending all this extra time watching all of this extra content that you're missing something. If you were to watch only the movies, then you have no idea what they're talking about in Doctor Strange when they mention Westview, You don't know why Wanda's evil. You don't know who these kids are that she's looking for. And the counter argument to that is, well, if you're a fan, you should want to watch it anyway. But the thing is, most people are going to be casual fans, right? That's why these movies don't have a uniform box office, because people only see the movies about the characters that they're interested in. So strictly Doctor Strange fans wouldn't have watched WandaVision. And it's apparent that the people at Marvel are also a little too busy to watch all of these shows. That's why it's jarring for some people to see Sam Wilson as Captain America if they didn't watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because that's a whole show about Sam accepting that role and becoming Captain America on a public scale and being embraced by the public. If you didn't watch that show, you probably don't know who Valentina is when you get to Thunderbolts. Yes, she's in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. But did you remember that? Did you remember that Ross is also in that movie? Not Thunderbolt Ross. Everett Ross. Martin Freeman. It just gets to be that there's too many moving parts, and with more moving parts, there's more potential points of failure. I don't want to watch a bunch of TV shows. So I personally don't. I don't typically engage with the Marvel shows anymore. In 2021, I watched all of them. I watched all 5 of those shows. 2022, I watched Moon Knight, and I hated it. And so I didn't watch another one until Daredevil Born Again came out. I'm really at a point where I am choosing the content that I want to engage with. I didn't watch the Marvels. I didn't watch... you know what? I watched She-Hulk. But I didn't watch Echo, or Miss Marvel, or Secret Invasion. I don't plan on watching Ironheart or Wonder Man, to be completely honest with you. If that Vision Quest show still comes out, not gonna watch that. If Armor Wars ever comes out, not gonna watch that. While it's true that being an MCU fan requires more work on your part, I don't think that that's a valid criticism of the current state of the MCU. You can just skip the shows that you don't want to watch. The movies, I believe, will do a decent enough job of bringing you up to speed. But I think that the main issue with the MCU for phases 4 and 5 is that we didn't know what the hell was going on. All that we knew was that they wanted to do this experimental thing with the multiverse, and that it seemed like Kang was going to be the main bad guy, but he died. And then it seemed like he died again. And then he died again. It's difficult to build up a new threat when he loses to Ant-Man, or he loses to this alternate universe version of Loki, or he loses to himself before he becomes Kang. And it keeps giving you this, the real Kang is coming. Eventually the real Kang is coming, but it's like, when? And also, when am I supposed to start caring? That's the main problem, is that it was just too unfocused. Because with this huge influx of new content coming out, you also have just as much that has nothing to do with anything. You look at the Infinity Saga, yes, you can skip certain movies. Like, you don't have to watch Iron Man 3, or really even Iron Man 2, unless you care that much about how War Machine gets introduced. You don't have to watch Ant-Man to understand Infinity War. But you should watch Ant-Man and the Wasp if you're going to try to understand Endgame. But with the Multiverse Saga, and this is speaking strictly on where we are now, if you want to know about the multiverse, then you watch WandaVision and Loki and Spider-Man No Way Home and I guess What If and Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That's really it. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania does deal with Kang, but it doesn't deal with the multiverse. It's just a shrunken down dimension. It's not the same thing. It's not reaching from one universe to another, because then that's Doctor Strange's wheelhouse. He'd have to get involved, but he didn't, so I guess it's not. But that means that you don't have to watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or Hawkeye, or Echo, or Moon Knight, or Secret Invasion. There's all of these extra projects that are coming out that don't lead to anything, don't build towards anything, and don't necessarily mean anything in the grand scheme of things. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, the special presentation, Werewolf by Night, was extremely popular and people really liked it. I've been saying for a few years now that Marvel should back off of the whole phases thing, especially because you don't even know where Phase 4 stops and where Phase 5 begins. Let me ask you something. What do you think is the final movie in the MCU Phase 4? I won't tell you. I want to hear you guess. And did you know that Phase 6 is only going to have, what, 4 movies in it? I can't believe this. But it's where we are now, I guess. I've been saying they should back away from phases, stop trying to build towards the next Avengers movie, and just do, like, sporadic Avengers films. It doesn't have to be the capstone of this phase of the last 3 or 4 years of movies that have been releasing. It can just be a, hey, this is what we're doing right now. It doesn't have to be connected, and it seems like Marvel wants to experiment more with content that is not connected. But at the same time, it feels messy because you've called it a multiverse saga. You know, you're still doing these post-credit scenes that, for the most part, lead nowhere. Or at least it leads to something that you're not going to see for 5 years. The Shang-Chi film came out 4 years ago. 4 years ago, we had a post-credit scene that said that the Ten Rings were sending out some sort of beacon. I guess we're going to find out what that means in Avengers Doomsday, because he sure as hell didn't get a sequel, and we don't know when the hell he's supposed to. We as viewers and as consumers can tell that Marvel has not known what they wanted to do for the last few years. They were so focused on Thanos and getting there and wrapping up that story that it was like, okay, what comes after? Fucking everything. Everything we can think of is what comes after. And hopefully that'll work. You know, there's shows that I forget about, like Agatha All Along came out a little while ago. Completely forgot about that. And I'm willing to bet so did you. Even if these projects are coming out and happen to be good, there's just so much now that it is legitimately more difficult to remember everything that's going on. You know, it used to be there used to be a time where you would see Tony Stark or Steve Rogers, like at least once a year or maybe every other year. Now, 4 years pass between John Walker appearances. Same thing with the new Captain America. You know, 5 years pass between Shang-Chi showing up and when you see him again in Avengers. There's 5 years between Spider-Man movies. I know that there's litigation and there's all these discussions that happen behind closed doors, but it affects the viewing experience. There's also a very blurry line between which characters from the shows get to matter and which ones don't. Because John Barenthal and Charlie Cox's names and who else? Oscar Isaac, they didn't have chairs in that Avengers Doomsday lineup that we saw last month or whenever the hell that happened. It doesn't seem like Daredevil, Punisher, and Moon Knight are supposed to be in these Avengers movies. So if they're not connected to anything, what's really going to motivate the vast majority of MCU fans to watch these shows? What there needs to be is like a Marvel Studios moniker for mainline MCU Avengers related project stuff that will build something or set something else up. And then you just say, I don't know, Marvel Presentation or something like that for shows or little side project movies that aren't meant to matter to the grander MCU. It's just, hey, we wanted to make a movie about Nova, but don't expect him to pop up in Avengers Secret Wars, right? So it would be like Marvel Studios Avengers Doomsday, and then just like Marvel Film or Marvel Series Nova. You know, that I think that delineation could help people know the difference between something that is just meant for the purpose of telling a story about that particular character and something that is meant to build towards the larger world. And I think you'd have a lot fewer people you know, upset about the state of the MCU all the time. As far as how to get things back on track, just slow down. And it seems like that's what they want to do. There's 3 movies this year, and I believe 3 TV shows. And I think they said they want to do 2 movies and 3 TV shows a year from now on. I think that that's a step in the right direction. I don't think that 3 movies in a year is too much. I think that that's a good number. It's a number that we had for quite a while. 2023, 2022, 2019, 2018, 2017 had 3 movies, right? The important thing is just getting the audience used to seeing these characters multiple times. You know, Bucky has popped up in every phase of the MCU to this point. But between, you know, Endgame and now, his character is just kind of nebulous. He just kind of drifts, and the story just pulls him in different directions to do kind of whatever the story is doing. He has felt a little inconsistent, and like he just pops up in places. But new characters, like I said before, Shang-Chi, unless you're as plugged in to the whole situation as I am, or as a lot of us other content creators or people that discuss this this topic and topics like it on Twitter or TikTok or whatever, like, unless you do this deliberately, you don't know when you're going to see Shang-Chi again, you know? The Eternals? None of them had chairs for Avengers Doomsday, so chances are we're never going to see them again. I do think that the most important thing as far as getting the MCU back on track, like I said, slow down a little bit and just know what you want to do. Figure out when we're going to see these characters again, you know? If Fantastic Four First Steps comes out later on in 2025, Fantastic Four 2 should be out by 2028. That's just how I feel. I didn't love the 6 years in between Doctor Strange movies. I know he appeared in other movies. That's, you know, that's totally fine. But you know who else appeared in other movies but also didn't have to wait 6 years for a sequel? Iron Man. So I think, if we're being totally honest and totally fair with each other, I don't want to wait God knows how long for the next Doctor Strange movie, because it's been 3 years already and they haven't said anything about Doctor Strange 3. It shows, and it definitely sticks in the back of my mind when I'm watching these movies, because I'm like, dude, these characters that I'm looking forward to just aren't popping up. It feels like it starts to defeat the purpose of having a shared universe if the characters hardly ever interact with each other, you know? But that's just my 2 cents on it. I didn't expect this video to run for 22 minutes. If you're still here, you're a freaking rock star. If I did put a Patreon segment somewhere earlier on in the video, I would be eternally grateful if you'd go check it out, and from there you can support the channel directly. If you do like having these conversations, what do you think about the current state of the MCU? What do you think they need to do to get back on track? Do you think that the MCU is in dire straits right now, or do you think it's just the same as it's ever been? It's just a little unfocused, maybe a little bit more complicated. Whatever it is, whatever you think, comment below and educate me. As always, if you want more videos, they're all over the place. I have got no shortage of content for you to watch. You could spend a week listening to my voice if you really wanted to. Anyway, that's all I got for you. I'll see you later.